Hey guys, Ted here, head coach at High Note Performance, and today we're going to take some shortcuts in thinking so that you can get better faster. If we want to think differently than everyone that's come before us, we have to know different things and take a different path. That all starts with knowing more specifics about how your brain works so we can really leverage that and take advantage for your performance. Your nervous system only does three things. It receives information, it interprets and decides what to do with that information, and then it sends information back out. The example you hear all the time is you touch a hot stove. Well, that heat information goes in through your skin, into your brain, and then your brain decides, hey, that feels hot. I don't want that. So what do? We send the information to remove your hand out to your fingers and you take your hand away. Only 3 steps. What if you just sang the best high note of your career and you want to figure out what you did to make that happen? That is you trying to restructure those inputs that allowed your brain to decide to let you have that great output. When was the last time you ate? What did you eat? What was the temperature like? What about the humidity in the room? So many different things impact, and your nervous system is taking in all of that information so that you can have the best possible results in the moment. Of course, some of those things are within our control and some of them are not. So be careful what conditions you spend your energy trying to recreate every time. In general, we are very output focused as a performance-based society. How quickly did you run? How beautifully did you sing? How fast did you play that run? And that makes sense, right? You get paid for great outputs. You don't get paid for great inputs. But from a training perspective, we have to be focused on all 3 or we'll never get the one that is really valuable. Your old brain does not care how well you perform. Your old brain only cares that you are alive to perform again 30 seconds from now. In fact, your old brain, the part of your brain that controls so much of what you actually do, is afraid of performance because performance means getting you out of your comfort zone, and your old brain really wants you to be comfortable all the time. Comfortable means alive. Old brain wants that. So I'm left asking, how has anyone ever performed well ever? Our bodies are not set up for high performance. Our bodies are set up for comfort. So how do high notes happen? How do incredible athletic feats happen? What did those people do to make that possible? That is where this awesome image of the threat bucket becomes in handy. Picture your nervous system like a bucket. All of the inputs have to go into the bucket. What happens if the bucket gets too full? It overflows. We don't want your bucket to overflow. We want it to be at a nice, happy level. So what are some things that might go into your threat bucket? Another word for threat in this sense is stress. So anything that could stress you out will go into this bucket. 3 big ones right off the top of your head that should have crept in would be work stress, financial stress, and emotional stress. Those all go into the bucket. Other things that really impact on the level of your bucket are going to be your sleep, your exercise, and your nutrition. Then we have stuff like your balance, your vision, and your strength. If you can't balance well, see well, or be strong, you're never going to be as confident as you could be with the level of your bucket. How your old brain reacts to a new input is really affected by the level of that bucket. If your threat bucket is already full and you come up against something new and different or harder than you expected, you're going to overflow. What happens when you overflow? Nothing good. Only the stuff that we try to avoid when we're performing. Some of the really common overflow symptoms are going to be pain, immobility, and dizziness. If you start to have those things, could be your bucket is a little bit overflowed. If your overflowed bucket becomes chronic and you don't do anything about it for a long time, symptoms can get way worse. Then we're talking about things like anxiety and depression. Of course, that's the bad stuff. That's the stuff we want to avoid. There's a flip side as well, the good stuff. What happens when your threat bucket is at an appropriate level? Then we get all of the benefits. We get strength. We get good movement. That's when we really start to get healthy. We start to have immune health and endocrine health. That means your hormones. So, all of the things that make someone a really high performer can only happen when your threat bucket is low. What do we do about it? How do we make sure that our threat bucket stays low? It all comes back to inputs. Remember those things that we talked about a minute ago about what fills up the threat bucket. Just like with inputs at the beginning, where we had that perfect high note, we have more control over some of those than others. Take control of what you can take control of and make sure that you're really doing everything you can to maximize that. Exercise, nutrition, vision, and balance are the things that we have the most control over. That's our vestibular system, our physical, our anatomical systems. All of those are things you can really take command of to keep your threat bucket low so you can perform at your absolute best. That is what all of the training that I do is geared towards. Emptying your threat bucket so that you can perform at your best. We talk about a state of flow sometimes, where it feels like nothing can go wrong. This is only achievable when your threat bucket is low. You have more ability and responsibility to control your outcomes than we ever thought possible. Stay tuned, and we'll talk to you soon.